What is up, everybody? So I thought we would talk about Jordan Love and what we can sort of take away from this preseason, because if we look back to, everything that's happened since Aaron Rodgers played his last game here in Green Bay, the question was, can Jordan Love replace Aaron Rodgers? I think most of us know that Jordan Love, to get to Rodgers level would be the odds aren't in his favor to be as good as a quarterback as Aaron Rodgers was during his time here in Green Bay. And so entering this preseason, entering this training camp, I think lots of us wanted to see, okay, how loved can Jordan Love be? Odds of him being Aaron Rodgers, not high. I don't think it's fair to hold him to those kind of expectations because there are very few all-time who will ever get to Aaron Rodgers' level. And so the biggest, uncertainty this year, the biggest uncertainty for the Packers entering this season is what they're going to look like in 2023, and lots of that comes down to the play of Jordan Love. So entering training camp, as training camp got started, we all knew that Love had some talent. We all knew that the Packers had enough confidence in 2020 to use a first-round draft pick on him, and then they had enough confidence once again to trade away Aaron Rodgers, which I think showed that they at least thought that Love was ready to go out and see if he could do it. And now we've had 3 preseason games to judge Jordan Love off of, and I think it has given us at least somewhat of an idea of what he's going to be in this season. Obviously, we don't know everything. We don't exactly know, what the future holds here. But I think if you look at his overall play in the preseason, here's some stats. 21 of 33, 193 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 109.8 passer rating. And I think if you would have told me that Love would enter this preseason, throw 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions, I would say that's a pretty good preseason. Because I think some questions, at least that I had in years past, in the preseason games he played in the game against the Chiefs, I was wondering, is he going to be able to limit those interceptions? Because I think early in his career in the preseason, he seemed to be a little bit more careless with the ball. And I think he has fully really gotten Matt LaFleur's offense, and he's really comfortable in the pocket, and he doesn't really take, tons of risks when it comes to that. Sure, he has his, misses here and there, but he's not constantly putting the ball up in harm's way like a Sean Clifford, who I still really like. I will be much more nervous if Sean Clifford was the guy entering the season, because while he has some talent, he, does put the ball in harm's way very often. And I think with Love, the balls that he misses, it's not like he's missing right to the defenders. He's missing a little bit, where he sort of puts it in the position where only his guy can go up and get it. And so that's, I think, a promising thing from Jordan Love. And the thing I love the most about today's preseason game in general, overall, was Jordan Love and his ability to escape the pocket. That's what I loved. I knew he had a little bit of it. We saw it in one of the first games where he escaped for 10 yards. I can't remember if that was was that week 2? I think that was the second game. We know that he had it. We know he has that speed and athleticism, and he hadn't really unleashed it. But today he unleashed it 3 or 4 different times, sitting back there. He decides to scramble around a little bit, and I was very happy with the kind of runner that he can be. And I think that's an aspect of his game that is going to take him very far. And I love the fact that he's willing to sit back there in the pocket, read through his routes and see who's open, who's not open. But when he can add this other factor to the game where he can extend plays, sort of like an early Aaron Rodgers did, I think that the sky is the limit for what he can become. And so we still don't know what he's going to do. He needs to prove it once the season comes around. He needs to show us that he can keep this up, once week 1 comes and consistently through the rest of the season. And it's not like he's perfect. He definitely needs to clean up, I think, those deep balls. We saw one today. Christian Watson had beat his guy by maybe 5 yards or so, and he still couldn't hit him. I think there was some wind, but that's definitely an area he needs to clean up. But overall, my assessment of his preseason has been, I'm very content and happy with what we saw from him. And I think that this is of all scenarios for Jordan Love, this is probably one of the best we could have had, because there's definitely scenarios where, Love comes out here, maybe in the preseason has 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. We're still wondering, is he going to, be a guy that just can't, keep the ball safe? Is he going to be a guy who's just going to go out there and sling it up when he doesn't know what's going to happen because his guys are covered? No, he's he's sitting back there. He's reading the field. He's willing to take checkdowns, and he's very careful with the ball while still, I think, putting it in positions. He's not afraid to throw the deep ball. He definitely needs to improve in that area. I would say from the preseason, that's probably the biggest thing he needs to improve, but he's not afraid to throw the deep ball. And so I think it's something that's going to, get better as time goes by. So let me look at the chat here. Six Figures, what's up? How's it going? Peanut, what's up? Jordan Love is him. What is up? Trev, hello. High Powered, how's it going? Ubin Man, good afternoon. So what do you guys think about Jordan Love from the preseason? What do you think so far? Gabe Henry says, Love really showed promise this preseason. Glad they kept him in for the last series to run a 2-minute drill. Yes. No, I think that Love showed lots of promise. I don't think you can expect a guy to be perfect. Let's see here. Sergi Carr says, Love looked like a young Mahomes. I mentioned that actually in my video right after the first half, talking about Love and his escapability, his ability to escape the pocket. I mentioned how it reminded me of Mahomes, and clearly Love can do crazy things, and I think we're just starting to see the ceiling of what he can do. At least when it comes to athletic ability, when it comes to creating, when he can't find an open guy. He can create on his own with his legs, which is an area that I think the Packers are going to be able to use a ton. Are we saying he's Patrick Mahomes? No, but I think, I agree with you that he showed that athleticism that tons of guys do not have. And I think nowadays in the NFL, to have a guy who can run and who can create on their own when they need to, like a Josh Allen, like a Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes, I think Love showed today that he can do that if he needs to. He definitely can do that if he needs to. Peanut says, I clicked the wrong one. Peanut says, he showed me more confidence this preseason, ready to see him week 1. Me too. We now have 2 weeks to go. 2 weeks to go until he shows us what he's got. But very, very promising. Let's see. Nate says, the touchdown to Reed did it for me. Nice. Sean at Tripline says, feeling very good about our future. So am I. So one thing I was thinking about before I went live here was, if you said to me right now, will Jordan Love be the Packers starting quarterback in 5 years? Asking me that question, if I had to say yes or no, there's no middle ground, I would say yes. And it's still early, and I know we're basing this off of preseason, but I think one thing Love showed today is that he's not going to be a terrible quarterback. I think that possibility in my mind is out the window. If anything, he's average. If anything, if he can't find consistency, like let's say the deep ball never were to come and he's off and on with it, he's still going to be at least an average quarterback, and I think he'll be even slightly better than average in that scenario. And so I think that in my mind, the Packers are going to be set at quarterback. I was hoping that would be the case, and after seeing this preseason, I definitely think that he is the Packers quarterback of the future. That is my prediction if I had to guess right now. And we'll watch throughout the season, and obviously we'll get new information, and we'll see if he can keep it up and keep playing like he has. But this is pretty much as, when it comes to scenarios, this is a great scenario for the Packers, the way that Love has played so far. Hunter says, Love looks pretty good, but I'd really like to see how Sean Clifford improves with time. Watching him play reminds me of Favre. He definitely has that fearlessness, that willingness to just chunk the ball down the field. He had some really nice plays today. I'm still 100% on the Love train, but I believe that Sean Clifford is going to be a solid backup, especially as he grows. As Tom Clements, QB coach here, who helped Aaron Rodgers early in his career, Jordan Love, I think that Clifford will be a solid backup for Love if there's ever any issues. High Powered says, dude shows promise and potential. Truly excited for this year. Plus the Jets' first-round pick is nice too. Yes, this Packers roster has really been built nicely with all the youth we have here. And, the fact that we traded away Aaron Rodgers, I think that gives, Brian Gutekunst deserves lots of praise that he was able to get likely a first and second round pick for a guy who is nearing the end of his career. Not quite there. But this probably was the best case scenario because now, let's say this is a really good team this season, which I think there's a chance with what we've seen from Jordan Love. We're also going to have 2 first-round picks as long as Rodgers plays 65% of snaps. So this is going to be a team that's built up with tons of young draft talent. The fact that we've had so many first and second-round picks the past few seasons has really helped the Packers build this team. Looking at the year before in the draft, I guess that was 2022. The fact that we had 2 first-round picks to get by trading away Devontae Adams, which led to us getting Devontae Wyatt, Quay Walker. And then you look at this past year, getting Jaden Reed, Luke Musgrave in the second round with 2 second-round picks. And then next year getting 2 firsts. And, it's just this is really set up nicely for the Packers, especially when it comes to building a team that's going to be very cheap because of all these rookie contracts with tons of elite talent in the first and second rounds. Gabe Henry says, hype train is real, boys. Frank, if you have pizza, I want some. Actually, that sounds good. Now I want pizza. John Beach, is it just me, or does this year's draft picks seem to exceed expectations? I think they're playing really, really well so far. I think Lucas Van Ness still has some time to grow. I mean, he showed some nice abilities, but I still feel like he's a ways from getting to his like peak potential. Maybe that happens year 2, year 3. But I think even this season, I mean, the fact that we'll have Rashawn hopefully back week 1, Preston Smith with JJ Enigbari playing like he has, even if Van Ness takes some time to reach his peak ability, which I think will happen in year 2, year 3, this draft class is looking nice. Jaden Reed playing really, really well. Luke Musgrave looks to be a huge part of this Packers offense. I do think, so far, these draft picks, especially the second rounders, the pass catchers, have played really well. And of course, it's preseason, and you can't base everything off of preseason, but from what we've seen, it's gone nice. I love his positivity. Yeah, what we've seen from Jordan Love, it hasn't led me to be worried, to be honest. I'm not worried, honestly. Not to say he's going to be perfect, but David, the offensive line showed cracks today. There were a couple times maybe where, Love had to escape. I'm curious to see the stats. PFF usually posts, like pressures a day after or so. I want to check that out. James, you think Lucas Van Ness is going to be a problem? I think he's shown a little bit of that. He's disruptive. He's physical. And the Packers they played him at some interior defensive line reps the other day at practice. So even if, let's say, Rashawn and Preston start outside, they could potentially mix in Lucas Van Ness in the interior. Sergi, who would you see have a better record from what you've seen so far, Packers or Jets? Probably Jets. Go with Jets. The Jets have a top 5 defense, most likely. They have Aaron Rodgers. They have Garrett Wilson, who I think is probably one of the best receivers. Probably top 10 receiver. Maybe pushing top 5 this season. I still think the Jets have a better team. But I do think that this Packers offense has a chance to be very, very good. And obviously it's hard to predict when you haven't seen a regular season game. It's easy to get carried away. But from what we've seen, everyone is looking really good. I'd still expect some hiccups. I'd expect some... there's probably going to be some games this year, maybe even early in the season, where Jordan has a bad performance. Maybe he has a 1 touchdown, 2 interception day, but that's not going to sway me unless we see it consistently. If he has has a couple of bad games early in the season, does that mean it's the end for Jordan Love? No, he's still a young quarterback, and so I'm still going to give him time, but I don't think it's going to take as much time as I had initially thought. Before training camp, my thoughts on Jordan Love, I had hopes for him, sitting behind Rodgers. From what we saw in the Eagles game last year, I was pretty confident, okay, I feel like he's going to be good. And now in the preseason, he's shown, okay, he can be good. Now it's okay, let's see it this preseason, or let's see it once the season comes around. Proho, it says, looks good, but I think Love needs some work. Sully says, I'm really excited for how great Love has looked. However, do you think we still have to temper expectations since it's just preseason? I guess that's up to you, Because I know there are people out there saying, okay, well, you shouldn't get excited about Jordan Love, wait till he plays in the regular season. But we've seen him play. We've seen him play in the preseason, so I've definitely upped my expectations from before I saw him play this preseason. I've definitely upped my expectations because he's shown that he has the ability to be really, really good. He's comfortable in the pocket. He doesn't get phased back there when things don't go according to plan. I think the Packers have really built Jordan Love up well, and he doesn't act like a rookie. Even though it's going to be his first year starting, he's played really well. So I personally have upped my expectations because of what I've seen from Jordan Love. Peanut, what do you think are Love's stats this season? Let's go with 3,700 yards, 32 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Thumbs up button hit. Thank you. Very nice. If you haven't hit the like, feel free to hit the like. I think it helps with the algorithm. Not for sure, but I think it does. David says they sacked Clifford on an RPO. Will the Packers make any more moves? I wouldn't expect much this season. I mean, well, let me say this first. With the cut down being on Tuesday, all 32 NFL teams obviously are going to cut around 37 players. I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Gutekunst was, scouring the cuts to see, okay, who's going to be cut here. Maybe there's some kind of tight end they want to pick up because Tyler Davis went down with an ACL injury that they think can add depth to this room. I wouldn't be surprised if they made a move like that. But like a big move, like a big free agent move, something like that, trade, I don't see it happening this season really. I think maybe next season. But the Packers are a team that love to build through the draft, and they've been doing that recently, and it seems to be going pretty good so far. Tiago says, I would have loved to see Kraft being more targeted in preseason. I think he had a couple today. I think he at least had one catch. But yeah, he definitely hasn't been as targeted as Luke Musgrave. But I think we'll give him some time. We'll see. We'll see what he can do. Green Bay fan from Portugal, Tiago. Here, let's go. That's awesome watching from Portugal. He found the ball in Sheboygan. Tally Watkins says, what are your concern levels with the fairly consistent underthrows on deep balls? I'm not that concerned. I feel like the more he throws it out there in the regular season, he'll figure it out. So I'm honestly not too concerned because I think he's also shown he can hit it, but the consistency definitely is going to be something he needs to work on. But, Aaron Rodgers, I can remember countless plays where Rodgers missed wide open guys deep. So just because he does occasionally, I'm not that worried. We'll see. Definitely, hopefully he can improve on it. Jeff has been disappointed in Watson. With Christian Watson, I have not, personally. Today's touchdown was nice. Back shoulder. Looked like Aaron Rodgers out there. Well, Jordan Love's throw. David says the first two games looked better than this game. You think so? I don't know. Personally, I enjoyed this game the most because of that. I mean, using his legs like he did. That took my confidence level in Jordan Love from here to here. Seeing what he can do with his legs excited me because he's going to be fun to watch. Peanut says, reasonable stats. I say 33 touchdowns and 9 interceptions and sneaks in as a Pro Bowler. What do you think? It's possible. I honestly, after watching this game, I'm in a fantasy league and I have Joe Burrow. But seeing Love there and seeing his running ability, I thought to myself, I wouldn't be shocked if he was a top 10 quarterback. Like, I wouldn't be as shocked now after seeing that. I'm not saying he's going to be, but the odds of him being top 10 aren't as crazy as before the training camp. In my mind. I think he'll at least be a middle-of-the-road quarterback, which should allow the Packers to be solid as long as their defense is solid. Has Aaron Rodgers played at all this preseason? I think he plays today, or did he play yesterday? I know he didn't play in the first two games. Gabe says, how many receivers do you expect to make the roster and which one? Yeah, I actually posted my 53-man roster prediction to my newsletter today. So if you guys want to check that out, you can. It should be linked in, maybe not this video, probably a different video. But yeah, I'll tell you that I predicted the Packers keep 7. I was debating the final couple, but I'd say they keep Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Samori Toure, Dontavian Wicks, who's a 5th-round pick, who's been injured a little bit, and then Malik Heath as a 6th receiver who has played really, really well. And I think it showed that, he's done it consistently almost every single game, has played really, really well as an undrafted player. So I think there's no doubt he makes the roster. The one I was debating was a 7th receiver because the Packers have done it in the past, but they don't always do it. And I went with Grant Dubose, who was a 7th-round pick. You look at the Packers last year, they kept all 4 7th-round picks. So I just went with, okay, the Packers keep 7. So that was my prediction. But yes, all right. What is that? Packers Gamer says Love shows he's very poised. Yes, that is one thing. He doesn't seem to get too flustered back there at all. He stays calm. He's a very calm kind of person. You can just watch his interviews. You can tell that he doesn't get super like high and super low. He's very like calm, which I think is something you want in a quarterback. You don't want someone who's out there who throws an interception and then can't get themselves back under control and then stinks the rest of the game. I think Love has showed that he can bounce back when something not great happens. Tiago says, how was Rodgers' first preseason as a starter? Better stats than Love? I actually saw that. Someone tweeted that earlier today. I don't know if I can find it. Maybe one of you can find it. But, yeah, at least from the stats that I saw, Love's stats look better than Rodgers' first preseason. If someone wants to look them up and comment them, that would be awesome. So Mitchell here has a prediction for Love stats. 33-9 is pretty crazy. I'd say 3,800, 31-15. Yeah, even that wouldn't be bad whatsoever. I always like to look at Peyton Manning's first year stats. He's slightly different than Love just because it was his actual first year, where Love's in his fourth year. But Manning's first year stats were like 26 touchdowns and 28 interceptions. Rodgers starts today. Okay, that's what I thought. Packers Gamer says, the missed throws will improve with time and reps. Very confident in Love. Go Pack, go. Yeah, he's going to get much better. He's going to get much better with real live reps in full games. And yes, okay. So A-Rod is starting tonight at 6. Okay, so not too long from now. Okay. 20 minutes away. Dale says, why do you think Cox won't make the team? They can't lose this guy. Yeah, looking at my prediction, I was just, as I was assessing the edge rusher room, I think last year we kept 5 edge rushers. So I believe that's what I did. Let me pull up my prediction. So yeah, I have at edge rusher for the Packers, Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, JJ Enagbari, Lucas Van Ness, and I went with Justin Hollins as the 5th guy over Brenton Cox. I say he doesn't make the roster, even though he has looked nice. I just think Justin Hollins, he started out this camp as the first edge rusher with Preston Smith at practice, and considering he was starting out there, I just doubt he falls off the roster completely. But I wouldn't be surprised if Brenton Cox made the roster. He has played nice. But just like looking at past years, trying to predict the roster, it's like there's some guys where I've thought like, oh, those guys played really well, and then they just don't make the roster. But that's my prediction. We'll see. We'll see what happens on Tuesday. Peanut, do you think Valentine starts as cornerback 3 while Stokes is out? No. I mean, right now it's going to be Jair and Rasul on the outside and Keyshawn Nixon on the inside, so I guess that would be the top 3. Now, if you mean outside corner, yeah, I would say Carrington Valentine would be after those 3 guys. And I just love the energy that he plays with. I mean, he plays aggressive football. If all the Packers defenders could play as hard as he does, that would be great. But I really do think that Valentine is one day going to be a starter here in Green Bay. Like if one day Rasul has to move on, I think that Valentine is going to be a solid starter. From what we've seen from preseason, he still needs to improve in some areas, but he's looked nice. Cynical says all the Packers' backup QBs look promising. Yeah, Magoo actually had a nice play today. I don't see Magoo making the final roster. I think it's going to be Jordan Love and Sean Clifford. But, yeah, if you read my 53-man roster prediction today, I accidentally, my quarterbacks I had for the Packers were Aaron Rodgers and Sean Clifford. And I read over it 3 times, and I guess I'm so used to seeing Rodgers on this roster, I didn't even process it. And then I got tons of people commenting, Aaron Rodgers? I'm like, oh, yeah, Jordan Love, not Aaron Rodgers. Packers Gamer says, Love is reminding me of Rodgers in 08. Yeah, we'll see once the season starts. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Tiago says, Lucas Van Ness wasn't great. Is it normal for guys in his position as a first-round pick? Yeah, I think if you look at Van Ness, considering he's so young, I think he's like, let me look out. He's only played, I think, 2 years in college. Yeah, he's only 22 years old. And so I think for guys who are really, really young, you know, sometimes it just takes time to get to your peak ability. You know what I mean? And I think he's going to get better over time. I think if we look at Rashawn Gary, I just want to look at Rashawn Gary's first year stats to see how much he played in his first season. Currently loading. I mean, Rashawn only played in 244 snaps his first year, and if you just look at PFF grade, which I think is a somewhat good thing to look at to judge play, gives you an idea. He had a 54 grade, which is really bad, and then it wasn't until year 3 that he really erupted. Year 2 to year 3 went from 39 pressures to 81 pressures. So I think Lucas Van Ness could take some time to become, to play it at what he's going to be able to play it eventually. So we'll see. So we got the Christian Watson touchdown was awesome. Yeah, that back shoulder fade or the back shoulder throw. I mean, that's from love watching Rodgers all those years with those back shoulder fades to Devontae, Jordy Nelson. Rick says Walker at right tackle and Tom at center. Yeah, who knows? I mean, it's possible. Because we've seen Rasheed Walker play a lot at left tackle behind Bakhtiari now. Because I think he started today at left tackle. So it's nice to the Packers. I mean, they're always great at developing offensive linemen. And so to see Rasheed Walker, 7th-round pick from last year, playing as good as he has, the Packers have, a lot of solid depth on the offensive line. John says, I feel that Jay Love has corrected his biggest flaw. His decision-making is much improved. Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. I mean, the fact that he didn't throw a single interception in preseason, I mean, he's not really putting the ball in harm's way very much. He's been pretty accurate overall. And the Packers receivers have dropped a good amount of passes. I mean, there was one today. Probably would have been a 15 or 20-yard completion to Jaden Reed. Coleman says, Love has the promise that you want to see via the eye test. His commitment is what will set him apart. Go, Pack, go. Yeah, no, he has. He has been very good. Especially, I think each game you've seen him settle in. You've seen the offense settle in. And today, too, he didn't have Romeo Doubs, so I think it's going to be one of his favorite targets. He was injured today, so he did that without Doubs. And once Doubs is back, hopefully soon, this offense looks good. Who do I think has more yards, Watson or Doubs? I'll go with Watson. Because I feel like Watson's going to have some more of those huge explosive plays. Doubs will have his as well, but Watson's speed will give him some of those massive plays. But I don't think they'll be too far apart, honestly. I think Doubs is going to catch a ton of passes. Big Boy says, I think Zach Thomas is a run blocking to play center, but I think he can be a solid tackle. Yeah, the Packers have moved Tom around a lot at different times, and he was a solid, 4th-round pick? Packers are pretty good at drafting offensive linemen. Coleman says, I do believe that the X factor will be coach calling plays. Yes, and one thing also to note, considering it's been preseason, I want to read a quote here from Jordan Love after the game on the preseason. He said this. This is tweeted by Ryan Wood. Jordan Love on Packers offense through 3 preseason games. We kept it pretty vanilla. I think it's similar scripts to the preseason we've had in the past. It's preseason, so you don't want to show too much. So all these teams aren't really doing exactly what they're going to do once the season starts. The Packers are going to game plan for the Bears week 1 and show us things that we haven't seen in preseason because they're not going to put film out there to give other teams the ability to prepare for and game plan for. So that's also why I'm excited. We haven't really seen the full ability of this offense because they're not using their entire playbook. They're using very simple things because that's what every team does in the preseason. So I know I've heard people say, well, once teams have a lot of film on Jordan Love, they're gonna be able to shut him down. But the Packers will also have film on the defenses. They'll know how to pick them apart. Matt LaFleur, I think, is a pretty solid offensive-minded coach. So I'm excited to see what the Packers have up their sleeve. LV says Love will be as good as his offensive line. Very true, and this is going to be a very good offensive line. And I think it's been pretty solid most of preseason. In week 1 with Bakhtiari at left tackle, the Packers, Love is in a very good position, especially when it comes to offensive line play. Is there many 4th-round productive receivers in the league, or we have a steal in Romeo? Sorry for the question, but I started watching NFL mid last season. Oh yeah, no problem whatsoever. I would say there's a good amount of 4th-round picks who are somewhat talented. There's definitely less because I think if you look at round by round, typically 1st-round picks often better just overall. But you definitely have tons of guys I think around the league who are later round draft picks. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but I would say there's probably a good amount of, fourth, fifth rounders, receivers, and stuff like that. But the Packers themselves have had much success with the second round receivers. Devontae Adams, Greg Jennings, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb. Now we got Watson, Jaden Reed. The Packers, for years and years with Rodgers, it was always like, oh, come on, the Packers need to draft a first round receiver. But the Packers just don't do that because they always find, top receivers in round 2. So why would they need to do it in round 1 when they can clearly do it in round 2? So I think I've learned over the years to be like, okay, I trust the Packers drafting their second round receivers. It's worked out for years and years. Because what was Greg Jennings drafted in 06 or so? So the Packers have shown they can do it consistently, finding those receivers. Jair Alexander Productions. Yo, what is up? How's it going? I like that logo you got there. Nick says, do you think Aaron Jones will have a full season as a healthy player again? And if he doesn't, do you think Dylan will be able to fully take the reins as a full starter? Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll see. I mean, Aaron Jones is a little older, so I would say your older players are a little more injury prone. How many games did Aaron Jones miss? Did he miss any games last year? I need to see how many he missed last season. Pulling up his stats. Last year he played in 17 games. Year before 15, year before 14. So he's never been super injury prone. He has them from time to time. But yeah, the Packers have a decision to make this offseason at running back just because, A.J. Dillon in the final year of his contract. Aaron Jones is getting up there in age. I'm not completely sold on Dillon being able to take over for Jones at this point, but we'll see. Minri don't even Japanese love your show. Go Pack Go. Well, that was awesome to hear. Thank you for watching. Driver was a 7th. Good point. Very good point. Donald Driver. He was fun to watch back in the day. Jair Productions. Do you think the Packers will make any trades before the season? I don't see it happening. I do not see it happening. I don't see that happening. I don't think the Packers are in a position to make any kind of trade at this point. At least not for a big name guy. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate you. I started doing, I've done a few more live streams recently. I probably hadn't done one before the past couple weeks in maybe like 10 months or so, but I figured to do it a little more often now. And we'll see if I keep doing it. But it's fun hearing your guys' thoughts as well. But yeah, we have a couple days until we get to see this 53-man roster from 90. So tons of guys about to get cut, and it'll be fun to see who makes his final roster. Let's see here. David, with everyone healthy, do you think we have a top 10 defense? It's hard to tell. I think it's possible. I think just looking at the second-year players like Quay Walker, if he can take a jump, Devontae Wyatt, who I think will be an upgrade over Dean Lowry, Jaron Reed, Kingsley and Agbare, solid depth behind Rashawn and Preston Smith. I think with the talent we have here, being top 10 is definitely doable. The question is, can they put it all together with Joe Barry? Hasn't really happened the past couple seasons, and we'll see. I think that the talent is there, honestly. What's your take on Budda Baker's safety is a big need and would be the final piece to the defense? I feel like the Packers would have made a move at safety by now, but I mean, it's possible. How old is he? He's 27 years old. I guess it's possible. I need to see what his contract looks like if the Packers have enough space to take on something like that. I'm not sure at the moment. Thank you, Coleman. I appreciate that. Who's your comparison to Jaden Reed? Good question. Well, there was one guy that I saw other people comparing him to around the draft time, and some people were saying Stephon Diggs. I need to look at Stephon Diggs' height. 6 feet. Jaden Reed's 5'11". I mean, Reed, he's 5'11", but he has his ability to go up and catch the ball. Brian Gutekunst even mentioned in some post-draft press conferences that one of the reasons the Packers loved him was because even though he was maybe slightly smaller than their typical wide receiver, he was able to go up and make plays on the ball as if he was, taller than he is. And I think we saw that. There was that one play in one of the preseason games where he jumps up, like you can see the his vertical is insane. Nick, I'm hoping Savage is able to take a step back up. I've always been high on him for safety. Yeah, for the past few years for Savage, he's definitely struggled. Last year even being benched for a time. And so, I mean, this year he's playing on his 5th-year option, so I guess I think it's a contract year, so he's definitely taken a step back the past few years. His first 2 seasons, if we just look at some of his stats, I'm pulling up right here. First year, let's see, allowed 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Year 2, only allowed one touchdown, had 4 interceptions. That was his best year, his second year. The past 2 years, allowed 6 touchdowns in 21, which had been the most, 2 last year. He hasn't been great when it comes to coverage. Jeff says Jaden Reed equals Randall Cobb. Yeah, definitely when it comes to, slot receiver type, but the Packers do think he can play outside too, which I didn't really need him there. I think he's definitely going to be the slot guy for the Packers. David also compares Reed and Cobb. Yeah, how tall is Randall Cobb? Let's see here. Randall Cobb height, 5'10", slightly smaller than Jaden Reed. Jair Alexander Productions. Nobody's been talking about Lucas Van Ness. What do you think of him? Yeah, I think that he still will have time to... He still needs time to develop, but I think that he's definitely made some impact plays. Not any crazy sacks out in the field there in the preseason, but if you watch some of the games, you can see he's physical and he's definitely pushing guys around back there. I just think it could take time for all of it to come together where he's consistently, making nice plays. All right, guys, so I think I'm going to go through and I'm going to share my Packers 53-man roster prediction right now. I put it out in my newsletter earlier today, but I'm just going to quickly go through it, and then we'll see. We'll see what I get right and wrong on Tuesday. So I'm going to start off here at quarterback. I'm going with Jordan Love, Sean Clifford. I think that, Matt LaFleur said Sean Clifford is going to be the backup. I don't think the Packers keep 3 quarterbacks. I feel like Alex Magoo could end up on the practice squad. Then going to running back, I'm saying the Packers keep 3. And Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, the top 2. And here's the thing about the running back position is the fact that last year the Packers only kept 2 running backs. They then elevated Patrick Taylor from the practice squad. So I don't think the Packers need to keep a 3rd running back because they're going to get some of these guys on the practice squad. And here's my thinking too. So if you look at this 3rd running back spot, the Packers lots of times like to keep their draft picks. And we look at Lou Nichols, who has been dealing with an injury. I do wonder, though, if he's almost healthy, because he's a draft pick, because last year the Packers were able to, move Patrick Taylor to the practice squad. I think the same thing could happen with Emmanuel Wilson. My prediction is the Packers keep Lou Nichols as their 3rd running back. That's my prediction. Wide receivers: Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Samori Toure, Dontavian Wicks, Malik Heath as a 6th receiver, because he has consistently produced through training camp, through preseason, played really well. And then I'm saying they keep 7 with Grant Dubose as their 7th receiver because he is a draft pick, a 7th-round pick. He dealt with some injuries, but has come back recently. I think the Packers keep Dubose. They have to keep Heath because I think he's played really well. And then considering Dubose as a draft pick, I go with Dubose. Then moving to tight end, I'm saying the Packers keep 3 tight ends. Matt LaFleur mentioned the other day how basically they don't need to keep 4. Tyler Davis down with his ACL tear, so they're not keeping him clearly on the roster. Probably go to IR. So I'm going Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft, Josiah DeGuara. Now at offensive line, I'm saying the Packers keep 9. Bakhtiari, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers, John Runyon Jr., Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, Yosh Nijman, Sean Ryan, Royce Newman. I was debating Caleb Jones, but I'm saying Caleb Jones is going to end up on the practice squad just because you look at the fact that Rasheed Walker has become a solid tackle here, backup. Yosh Nijman has also become a solid backup tackle. That's why I say Caleb Jones doesn't make it. If they kept 10, I would see them keeping Caleb Jones. And then Sean Ryan, Royce Newman, who have had ups and downs, but I'm still going with them making the roster. That's the offense. Now to defense. Defensive line, I'm going 6. I was debating between 5 and 6. I'm going with 6. Kenny Clark, Javonte Wyatt, TJ Slayton, Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, and I'm going with Jonathan Ford as the final guy. So last year the Packers kept Ford on the roster. I think he still made some nice plays, and so I'm going with him at the end there. Edge rusher, I'm going 5. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, J.J. Enagbare, Lucas Van Ness, and Justin Hollins. I discussed this a little bit earlier today, but I think that when you look at Justin Hollins, he started off camp with the ones next to Preston Smith with Rashawn Gary injured. And I know Brenton Cox has played really well this preseason, but I think the Packers keep Hollins because he has more experience, and the fact that he started off with the ones, I just don't think he's going to fall off the roster. But we'll see there. Inside linebacker, I'm going with 5. Devondre Campbell, Quay Walker, Isaiah McDuffie, Eric Wilson, Tariq Carpenter. The top 3, I feel like, are pretty much locks, with McDuffie being the backup there behind Campbell and Walker. And the thing is with Eric Wilson and Tariq Carpenter, they're both big special teams guys. Eric Wilson was a big special teams guy last year. So was Tariq Carpenter. And so that's the reason I think they keep 5 there to help the special teams. Couple more to go. Cornerback, 5. Jair, Rasul Douglas, Keyshawn Nixon, Carrington Valentine, Ennis Gaines. Ennis Gaines can also play safety, and he's also big in special teams. This is with the idea that Eric Stokes starts on the PUP list. If he doesn't, then he'll be in here somewhere, and it would change things, but that's my prediction because he hasn't come off yet. Safety, I'm going 5. Darnell Savage, Rudy Ford, Tarvarius Moore, Anthony Johnson Jr., Dallin Levitt. I had one flyer here. I was going the Packers don't keep Jonathan Owens. He wasn't really good, even though he started in Houston. He's had the worst PFF grade among all Packers safeties of 43.7, and we only paid him $1 million. And because Anthony Johnson Jr. as a 7th rounder, in my mind, has more promise, Dallin Levitt has been a huge special teams guy here. He probably won't, play at safety, but he is a safety, and he was a big get for Rich Bisaccia when he came in, so I don't see them cutting him. So that's my prediction. They let Owens go. Now special teams, Anders Carlson, kicker. The Packers are going with him regardless. Punter, I'm going Daniel Whelan, beats out Pat O'Donnell. Today they each punted twice. I think the Packers have a nice young talent, and Whelan, however you say his name. Not exactly sure. I need to look up his pronunciation. But I think considering he's young and the Packers seem to like him, and the competition has continued, and Matt LaFleur's discussed it. Brian Gutekunst has also discussed it. So I'm going O'Donnell gets beat out by the young player. Finally, long snapper Matt Orzech. He was signed to a 3-year deal this offseason, and I think there's no doubt he's going to be the long snapper. So that is my 53-man prediction. I'll be out with a video whenever the real prediction comes out. We'll see where I'm right. We'll see where I'm wrong. But that is my prediction. What do you guys think? Agree, disagree? Where do you disagree? I assume there are points you disagree, considering there are 53 spots. High Plain says agree, keep Royce Newman. He's definitely had his ups and downs, but I'm just not sold that they're going to cut him. They could, but not for sure. Nick says, I agree, aside Jonathan Owens. Yeah, as I was looking at the safety position, I really wanted them to keep. I just think Anthony Johnson, a 7th rounder, they'll keep him, and I just had a hard time cutting Dallin Levitt because of his special teams ability. And considering Rudy Ford, I think, is going to start with Savage. He has all week long. That's why I went with that, just because Owens hasn't been very good. But that's one where I definitely wouldn't be shocked for them to keep Owens. That was sort of one of the, okay, there's usually something that happens where, you didn't expect it all. Jesus of the Ape says he proved nothing this preseason. I assume you're talking about Jordan Love. Nothing is proven from a franchise QB in preseason. I think he proved that he's at least a solid quarterback. I think that he has that poise of comfortability in the pocket. I think he clearly showed that he has that escapability factor. So I think from what you can take away from preseason, he definitely, what he showed increased my expectations for Love. Week 1 prediction from Jair Alexander Productions. Week 1 prediction, please. For Bears, I say we beat the Bears. That's my prediction. Peanut says, hot take. I say cut Josh and let Tom play center. I don't think they wouldn't cut Josh. I don't see them cutting Josh. If he were to lose the center job, he would definitely be backup, I believe. Let's see here. Mr. Duckskin. Luke, you're off your rocker, LOL. No way Packers keep any of these 7th rounders other than Valentine. I think they will. We'll see. Who's the second best cornerback on the team, Douglas or Stokes? Honestly, maybe a toss-up. Stokes was worse in his second season, but I need to see what Stokes looks like once he's back and healthy from his injury. Jesus of the Ape says, we all knew this about him already. Jordan Love, I think you're talking about. He has everything to prove when the guns fire. He definitely still has everything to prove once the season starts. Definitely. Am I thinking about going to any games this year? Potentially. I don't have any plans, but you never know. Let's see. Toy Story Andy, but we can assume he'll be that good in the regular season. I mean, it's only preseason. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Maybe it doesn't translate. I think it will. We'll see. Jesus of the Apes. I think they keep the 7th rounders. This team is loaded with talented 7th rounders. Yes. If you guys just got here, I did my 53-man roster prediction. And I believe I have them keeping every 7th rounder. The one that would be if there was one that I had to guess, like when it comes to likelihood of keeping 7th rounders, I would say most likely Carrington Valentine. I think definitely. Next would be Anthony Johnson Jr. It's my thought. Third would be Grant DeBose. And then 4th, Lou Nichols III. And the reason I put Lou Nichols III, I don't know how serious his injury is, but just the fact that the Packers may not even keep 3 running backs, and considering the Packers drafted him, and I think that they can find talent similar to Patrick Taylor and Emmanuel Wilson elsewhere, honestly. Considering they drafted Lou Nichols, I just say they keep him on the roster. But I don't know how serious his injury is. Nick says, what do you think of McDuffie's play today? I think he had a good game. Yeah, no, he played well. He had one play near the end where he sort of didn't fill the hole properly. But I like his aggressive style of play, and he's usually pretty solid versus the run. And hopefully Devondre Campbell will be ready soon with his injury. Shigo Chris says, I feel like Stokes is better because Douglas gets beat a lot. Record prediction, I'm going to go 10-7. Mr. Duckskin. Packers keep 2 running backs. Cox and Heath make the cut. Yeah, I definitely agree with Heath. Cox, I wouldn't be shocked. LV, Rodgers is playing tonight against the Giants. Yeah, didn't that game just start? I think someone said it starts at 5 o'clock Central. Toy Story Andy, I hope Kenny Clark can have a comeback season this year. Me too. He looked solid today. He had somewhat of a down year last year. Not quite as disruptive, but we'll see. How old is Kenny Clark now? Almost 28 years old. All right, guys. Well, that's going to be it for this stream. I appreciate all you guys who tuned in. It was fun. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I enjoy reading what you guys have to say as well. But I'll be out soon with more videos. We'll see the 53-man roster on Tuesday. But that's it for today, and I'll see you guys next time.